Hey Moto Tubers, well, we're at it again. In the truck, headed down the road, getting ready to go pick up another customer's motorcycle. This one's about an hour away, a Kawasaki ZX-11. New customer, he has 3 motorcycles in total. The other 2 are Harleys, so I'm pretty stoked about that. We've got the ramp loaded, all the tie downs we need, so we should be back to the shop soon and get working on the bike. Got the customer's bike picked up. We weren't able to record the loading of the motorcycle because it was in a real tight, awkward area. It's a Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11. This bike's a 1994. And like I said, we picked it up from a customer, so keep that in mind when you're choosing your motorcycle shop. Thompson Custom Bikes will come pick up your motorcycle. All right, let's get this thing back to the shop and on the lift. I was not able to get the unloading of this motorcycle. It's a big, heavy bike. Doing the initial walk around. Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11. Customers installed a new pipe. A few other things, but what I've noticed primarily, just off the spot, is a hole in the fuel filter. So this thing, I don't think has run. Maybe for a minute, whatever was in the float bowl, but other than that, it's in decent shape. There's some dings and scratches to be expected. All right, let's get this thing pushed in the shop. All right, Moto Tubers, we've got the ZX-11 up on the lift, strapped down. We're gonna go ahead and secure the bike, pull the parts out, and start pulling the bike apart and getting working on it. So let's get to it. Well, the customers provided these parts. We've got a new battery, spark plug wires, new relay, new brake pads, new ignition coils. Let's get started working on this bike. I come across this stuff frequently. I just pulled the tank on this bike, and this aftermarket electrical ran to this USB charging port. Was just laid across the bike like this. These 2 right here were actually zip tied to the electrical cables of the gas tank. I'll be rerouting this and doing it correctly for the customer. It will be ran correctly when I'm done with it. All right, let's get back to pulling this thing apart. We've got some spark plugs to do. Spark plug wires, air filter to clean, batteries over there charging. Let's get back to this. Got this air cleaner pulled off. Looking at it, it all looks pretty good. Gonna clean it out. However, somebody put duct tape all along here. I don't know why. I also noticed quite a bit of tape right there and some other things that have led me to think this bike has been worked on by somebody who's not a mechanic. All right, I'm gonna keep taking this thing off, but just wanted to note that. air box off. We're looking at the top side of all 4 carburetors here. See them down in there. Everything looks pretty stock. Nothing looks like it's been messed with too bad under here. I have a funny feeling not too many people have been under this part here, just more external. So I'm checking out this guy here, and the fuse is good, and everything looks like it's in decent shape. However, the new one the customer gave me is not. Looks like a dog chewed on it. I've pulled apart a few electrical things here. This is the fuse box. Every fuse is good. These are spares. Inside this fuse box seems to be a solenoid. It's not this one that's clicking. It's actually in here, this junction box. So I'm going to do a little more research on this junction box, figure out what it is inside of it, if the whole thing needs to be replaced, or if this can be opened up and there's something inside that can be replaced. But the clicking is definitely coming from here. Everything else on the bike seems to be working normal. Everything else is tested out fine. So we're gonna look into that and possibly get a new one. I was gonna show you guys these. See this connection right here? That connection is called a solder stick. Soldering is ideal when doing electrical. I've said that in my past videos, but sometimes you end up with such a short piece of electrical sticking out of a plug like this that it's really difficult to get in there and solder these. In this case, this piece wouldn't even touch this piece. But because of this solder stick, I was able to put that in there and melt that solder that's inside there, which melts these red rings and sucks it down. So this piece is completely done and finished. Tight, strong, and soldered. I wouldn't have been able to do that with a soldering gun as easy. This took me about 30 seconds to do. So, wanted to pass that along to you guys. All right, let's get on to the rest of the bike. This junction box is pretty interesting. That part number there has been replaced with a new one. I ended up finding this junction box off of a running bike in New York, having the guy send it out to me, but turns out there's relays inside of this junction box that can't be taken out and replaced. Only the fuses can be. So those relays, when they go bad, this whole unit needs to get replaced. Good luck finding these, unless you go to a used junkyard. Brand new, they're hard to find, and they're over $200. I ended up finding one in a junkyard, so that's what we're gonna go ahead and replace it with. It should be here in a couple days. Next, we're gonna be swapping out the brake pads. These 2 bolts right here, 12 millimeter. Pull it off, swap out the pads, put it back on. And there you have it. Brake pads are replaced. The only thing to keep a note of, there's a retaining rod right here that has a small clip on the inside. That's about the only little piece you're gonna have to be concerned about. Definitely don't want to lose that piece. But that's all there is to it. Super simple. I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side done now and then move on to the next part of the bike. Well, normally we would replace this whole piece, but the customer asked me to fix the broken plastic, so I did what they call Frankenstein it. Turned out pretty good. It's still functional. That screw still screws in just fine and holds the plastic in place perfect. So that should work for now until the customer wants to replace that whole plastic piece. Well, I'm pretty sure I figured out a few different things that were wrong with this. This right here is fuel pump. Even though it's carbureted, the fuel goes in the line through this filter and into this pump, spools it up, and then shoots it up into the carburetors here. This plug, this electrical plug, was not fully plugged in, so that would explain no fuel. We've also replaced the junction box here, got a new one, and that's working. Fixed this electrical wiring that was a complete disaster. I've got my auxiliary fuel line hooked up. There's probably a few other things I'm forgetting. Checked the solenoids, checked all the fuses, and let's go ahead and see if this thing will start up. All right, Moto Tubers, it's always fun getting a bike that's a non-runner and seeing if I can get it running. This particular bike had a few things that needed to be fixed, adjusted, plugged in, and swapped out. Pretty sure this thing's gonna run, pretty sure it's gonna start. I'm gonna go no choke and no starting fluid just to see how this is rolling. Idling perfect. Especially with the airbox not on it. Alright, Moto Tubers, that's good enough for me. This bike starts, runs, and actually idles pretty well. I think I'm going to go ahead and button this back up, do a few finishing touches with some of this electrical accessories the customer wants. Then we'll get this bike taken on a shakedown ride and give the customer a call and have them come pick it up. Well, when I got this bike, there was a huge gap right here. See ya. There was a gap right here that somebody didn't know what to do with, so they just duct taped it. You can see the residual duct tape on there. I've scraped a lot off, but this is... Anyway, this bolt has to be put on after the air cleaner box gets put on, and this bolt was in, so it was actually what was creating that gap, and all it needed was to be pulled out, airbox set down flush, and bolt put in like it should be, and that fixed the problem. So fixed that, got the airbox on, new air filter, new bolts, everything's aligned, the entire airbox is sealed, connected to the carburetors. Let's go ahead and get this tank put on. We've got the electrical buttoned up. Everything should be ready to put the tank on and start this bike up and take it on a shakedown ride. front, we've got this 1994 Kawasaki ZX-11, all buttoned up and put back together. Tank's on, fuel's on. We're gonna go ahead and start this thing up. Make sure it runs before we take it off the lift. All right, that passes the lift check. Let's go ahead and take it off the ramp, take it on a shakedown ride. Just got back from our shakedown ride. This bike screams. Runs excellent. Shifts through all the gears, sounds good, looks good. All the gauges work, all the lights work. Customer asked for a Thompson Custom Bikes race sticker, so we had to go ahead and put that on for him. This bike is ready to be picked up. And let me tell you, these ZX-11s are fast motorcycles. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. You hit us up at thompsoncustombikes.com for all your motorcycle needs. Catch you guys next time.